Hello everyone, what's up? Princess 1215 here with another movie review. Today I'm taking a look at Marvel Studios. It's Marvel Studios. It's like, never thought about that before. Where's the apostrophe? It's just Marvel Studios. And it's like, so there is no apostrophe. Anyway, I'm taking a look at Deadpool and Wolverine today. So yes, the latest Marvel movie, and the only one releasing this year, actually, if you can believe it. This is the first time there's only been one Marvel movie releasing in a year in a long, long time. Because even when they started coming back to theaters after the pandemic, I think they had like Black Widow and Shang-Chi or something in the same year, something like that. So yeah, it's been a long time since there's only been one Marvel movie in theaters, and this is the one for 2024. And boy, what a winner! this was quite the winner. So yeah, Deadpool Wolverine. I mean, it you get what you ask for when you look at when you know what you're in for when you look at the title. It's you get exactly what is promised to you. I really, really, really liked this movie. I thought it was very good. Not to say it was perfect. I have some quibbles with it, but it's a very, very good movie. I think it's probably up there in terms of best Marvel movie since Endgame, easily. It's got to be either that or Guardians 3. Maybe Guardians 3 edges out Deadpool just a bit because the overall narrative of Guardians 3 is a little stronger. But I would say, and while it's a very satisfying conclusion to that trilogy, I think Deadpool and Wolverine is maybe the more fun movie to watch. So it really depends all on on what you're looking for, because Guardians 3 is fun. There's action, there's some good jokes, but by the end of it you're a puddly mess of tears crying over this beautiful, beautiful ending James Gunn has crafted with these characters we've spent so long with. While Deadpool and Wolverine has some of that, actually, but it's mainly a conduit for let's tell some over the top jokes and have some gory action scenes. And Deadpool does that very well. And even then, there's still a nice emotional core to all the Deadpool movies, really. And this one, especially by bringing in Hugh Jackman again as Wolverine, for the first time since 2017, when he said he was done and hanging up the claws, and now it's he's undone that. Fox killed him, and Disney brought him back to life, and now he's going to be doing this till he's 90. I thought that was a good joke. So yeah. I mean, just really quick, I'll just run through my thoughts of the first two Deadpool movies. I'll preface this by saying I've never picked up a Deadpool comic, but I've done, like with most Marvel things, I've done like extensive research. I've read the behind the scenes. I've looked up character traits. I've like seen, it's like, okay, what are people saying that are the traits that make X character a good character? What are they known for? What are the well-known story arcs, etc., etc.? Who are their bad guys and all that stuff? And then it's like, watching some examples. And because Deadpool's a pretty popular character, he pops up in a lot of stuff. I think maybe the first thing I ever really saw him in was Ultimate Spider-Man, when he was in one episode and he never appeared again, because it's like, I think the getting him in one episode of Ultimate Spider-Man was like, maybe, it was probably maybe a Herculean task to even get him in that one episode. And after that, it was like a never again type thing. But then by that point, I also feel like Ultimate Spider-Man really started to shift and stick mainly to just the Disney owned characters. And so like Wolverine stopped appearing. I think Magneto was in an episode or two, maybe. Or no, I don't think he had a speaking role, but like he was at least there visually. I know around that same time, Doctor Doom was a villain reoccurring on like Avengers Assemble and Ultimate Spider-Man and stuff, and then those characters slowly got dropped. That's when they started pushing the Inhumans, trying to get rid of the mutants because they wanted Fox to sell the film rights back to them and everything. It's like, well, they won't sell us the film rights, so we'll just buy this whole studio. Oh, Disney. Yeah. So anyway, so I enjoyed the first two Deadpool movies. I think they're pretty good. Um, Probably, I probably go. It's the first one, maybe overall, looking at it now, I would say is maybe the weakest because it's just so clear. It has a much lower budget than the other two, and there's constant jokes in the first two about how like they can't afford more X-Men, and I don't know. It's like maybe a more of a Deadpool purist would correct me on this, but at least from what I and at least the enjoyment I get out of the character, Deadpool seems to be at his best when he is kind of bouncing off the rest of the Marvel universe. Like when he's bumping into Spider-Man and annoying the heck out of him, and when he's trying and when he's palling around with the X-Men and getting into scrapes with them and fighting them at times, and then also like being on their all the back and forth there, and it's like the fact that like most Marvel characters are just utterly annoyed by Deadpool to the fact that like they like loathe him whenever he shows up a lot of times. At least in what I've seen, I think it's just kind of a funny. It's just kind of a funny idea. So it seems like he's maybe to me anyway. It's just from what I've seen, he's probably kind of best when he's bouncing off all the other Marvel characters because since he has that ability to break the fourth wall, he can kind of poke fun at like their character tropes and stuff. And there's a lot of comedy to be mined from stuff like that. But even with the more limited scope of the first movie is still really solid. You get a really good idea for what this character is kind of about and how he acts and everything. And also for it being a made on a really low budget movie, it's a very economical movie in like what they get away with, because like the behind the scenes of they didn't have the budget for all these really big action scenes that they had dreamt up, so they're getting around it being an action movie is that they've made one action scene and then cut it up and spliced it at different points in the movie and kept doing these like flashbacks and doing all these jumps around the timeline of it's like, well, now we're in a flashback, now we're in a flash forward, now we're in present time, now we're back following Deadpool, now he's telling us about this other thing that happened, now we're doing a joke about how this is a fourth wall break inside of a flashback and all that stuff. So I think they were very smart in the way they structured that first movie, because I think if you told it from start to finish, it would kind of be a little dull, but it is the jumping back and forth and not revealing everything at first and keep going back to that bridge scene over and over and over and showing different parts of it. I think was very smart. It shows you that there's a lot of talented people at the helm of these movies. Second one was kind of just a bigger version of the first in a lot of ways. You got a little bit more Marvel Universe stuff in there because they threw in the Juggernaut. There was Domino. They kind of joked about the X-Force and everything. More Wolverine jokes. But so I really enjoyed the second one. I think it has a really good emotional hook to it too. And so then that leads us to now finally Deadpool Wolverine, the third one. And just the kind of, I think at its core it does have some good emotional beats to it, like the whole Deadpool wants to feel like he matters in an overall universe, and that's why he wanted to be in the MCU. I think, which is fitting for the character, is kind of a nice meta way to go about giving a character like Deadpool an arc. Because he's not a good guy, he's not a bad guy, he's like kind of squarely in the middle, he's morally flexible. He can be a bad guy just as often as he is a good guy. He's a mercenary and everything, so he doesn't really have any issues with like straight up murder. Rip Nice Pool. so, so yeah, I'm going into full spoilers on this, by the way, if that wasn't obvious with any of my other reviews I've done. I just go into full spoilers. So to frame the kind of emotional journey for Deadpool in this movie around him trying to save his universe after kind of being bored with it, I think is a smart idea, but it wasn't, I don't think it was wholly executed on as well as it could have been, because I think that's a really solid concept. But the thing that I'm a little, it's like, yeah, that could have been stronger about it, is the fact that, and I get it because of the first two movies, but it's like kind of once again, like the plot kind of boils down to Wade just wants to get back with his girlfriend. Which the first movie, okay, it's the first movie, I get that. The second movie, Marina Bakarin, I'm pretty sure had a scheduling conflict, so she couldn't be in the movie as much. So they had to kind of find a way to work around that. So doing the she dies, and then his whole thing is trying to live up to her and die to be with her and everything. That, I think that really worked. So then for the third movie to kind of be that again, but they just kind of broke up in between movies because he's dejected and upset that the Avengers didn't want him. And I think that could have been, I think that it's not focused on much, which is why I'm not really totally like saying this is a major issue with the plot of the movie. I just think that because it does kind of get forced into it's like, while this is like the end goal of what they're trying to achieve is like and the reason he wants to save his universe and everything, because Vanessa's in it and everything. It does just feel kind of, when you look at it from a mile high perspective, it's like it's kind of the same thing again for the third time, and it's so it just feels a slightly repetitive, but the whole experience is so much fun that I'm able to hand wave it and go, it's not a huge deal. Also, it's like, not to be, not to insult the Deadpool franchise, but also it's like, is the plot really the main thing that they're trying to go for with these movies? It's like, I mean, I think they do a good job of finding a nice emotional core to make you invested just enough in the movie, but it's like, I don't feel like the actual plot points are really what they're going for. It's like they want to make you laugh. They want to, gross you out with some of the death scenes and stuff for certain characters, like, and stuff like that. So it's like the story isn't like the 100% top priority. It's like they still treat it with respect and want it to be good, but it's not like the end all be all of what they're trying to achieve. I think like they are with some of the other Marvel movies, like the Avengers stuff. Like they are so focused on the plot and the characters in the Avengers movies and such. So I think maybe a slightly better way to get around the repetitive nature of that is that instead of, and it'd still be a little cliche, but I think in a meta-ness, I think this would still work, in which, and it also kind of tie into the plot a little bit more, where it's like, maybe in Deadpool's world, like he's stopped being Deadpool because like contract work has dried up because there's no more bad guys. Like it's almost this like idyllic, peaceful world where nothing ever goes wrong. And he's now bored out of his skull because he's Deadpool. He likes the slash bang bang gun shoot kill things. He likes that lifestyle. And so then he realizes when he gets to TVA that the reason his life is like that now is because the anchor of his universe died, and so now the universe itself is slowly dying. But because the counterbalance of, since there is no great hero in it anymore, there is no more great villain. So it's like the only bad guys, quote unquote, you have are just like petty thieves, and they're like people like break into cars and steal from convenience stores and stuff like that. Like you don't even have like mobsters or anything anymore. It's like the creativity of the universe itself has gone out and is slowly dying. And so that's another reason why he wants to find, it's like, not only is the TVA going to prune his entire timeline, but he wants to save it for the people he does still care about. But then kind of as an added bonus, finding a new Wolverine to put back into that universe to create a new anchor character would then re-energize the creativity in that universe and would give him stuff to do again. I don't know. I just think that maybe that would be a slightly different take that's different than just, oh, I want to get back with my girlfriend for the third time. So I don't know. I think that maybe would have just been a touch more creative and really would have tied into the plot very nicely. But that's real. But like I said, the rest of it is it's so much fun that the fact that I'm kind of nitpicking on that isn't really all that important. Because the rest of the movie, it's like this is probably not gonna. I'm probably gonna wrap up here before too long, because maybe another 10 minutes or so. Because like the rest of the movie, I would just gush about, like, from, because I think they handled Wolverine pretty well. I don't think they made his, like, whole, ooh, you let down his whole universe. I don't think that was like that dramatic of a reveal. It's like, oh, he was at the bar getting drunk while the X-Men were getting killed. That was like, okay, that's a little lame. I thought it was going to be like something like he accidentally let a villain mind control him and he killed the X-Men or something like that. That would have been maybe a darker, and he blames himself, obviously, for that, even though it's not his fault. Another theory I had before the movie came out, since I am, and I was kind of predicting this. So when the final trailer came out, it revealed that X-23 was, Laura was going to be in the movie. I was not surprised. I'm like, yep, that makes okay. Yep, I was kind of theorizing about that. And then one of the things I was theorizing about is that this Logan that Deadpool finds is actually, it's like this would be like a reveal at the end of the movie, is that Deadpool did not, when he found this Logan, he didn't go to another dimension and find this Logan. He instead ended up back in his original timeline, in his original dimension, and the Logan he finds is actually X-24, who, after getting shot by Laura at the end of Logan, slowly regenerates back to life. Is because he was shot in the head, his brain went splurt. But because he's like this genetic creation, he had an actually more powerful healing factor than the original Logan, the original Wolverine. And so, like, it takes more time, but he slowly comes back to life. But now he's got amnesia, and it's kind of replicated the original Weapon X experiments that happened to Logan. So now he has kind of these weird fuzzy memories of who Wolverine is, of being with the X-Men and everything, but he's not the original Wolverine. He's the evil clone who's now been cured of his mind control and evilness. And so then Laura coming in, and so I thought that was maybe the direction they were gonna go with that. And I think that would have been kind of engaging, and also would have helped tie into Logan a bit more, because I think they did a really good job of paying tribute to Logan, because of course, they do the joke right off the bat, where yes, they are literally digging up Logan's corpse, and then Deadpool dances to In Sync while using the bones as weapons. Only Deadpool could do something like that and get away with it. So yeah, they make the obvious joke, and that's what people were thinking from the very moment that they announced that Hugh Jackman was going to be in this movie. It's like, well, but I mean, Logan was such a perfect ending. How are you going to honor that perfect ending while not making it feel cheap now? And I think they went about it the right way, making him, and doing the multiverse thing, since Marvel's been doing the whole multiverse thing, this saga or whatever, the last two phases or whatever. Making him a variant makes sense. I get that. It's the same thing with, Patrick Stewart returned as Charles Xavier in Multiverse of Madness. And that was a variant of Charles Xavier. It wasn't the original one that we were used to from the original X-Men movies and everything. And even then, it's like, well, are there two Charleses? Because it's like, where do we stand on the first class portion of everything? Because the timeline changed. So it's like, does Xavier ever turn into Patrick Stewart in this new timeline, or is he just now permanently James McAvoy? So So making it a Logan variant made sense. I got it. It tied into the whole multiverse thing. But I think that would have just been a nice little twist at the end, and like a further kind of nice tie into Logan, if they had made him X-24. Now, it would have raised some questions about how has Deadpool not heard of him. How, it's like, there's that one guy in the bar. It's like, no one wants you here. So that's like, they clearly know that he is the Wolverine. So like, people would recognize him. And everything. It would be kind of make it hard to stay under Deadpool's radar and everything, probably. So there is that issue there, but I don't know. I think that would have just been cool. But the fact that they didn't go that direction is not an issue with the movie. That was just kind of like this alternate idea I had before the movie came out. So yeah, but and then of course the montage where they showcase all the different Wolverines like Cavalrine and the short comic accurate height Wolverine was hysterical. The actual visual of it being because I thought that if they ever did that, they would just cast a new actor. But the fact that they actually got Hugh Jackman and like they digitally shrunk him or whatever, that was just a really really funny image. It's like the stool the stool he was sitting on was taller than him. It's like, you know what? Maybe I would kind of like to see that Wolverine. It's like it would have been actually kind of cool if like at the final battle if they'd somehow or the battle at Dead Ant-Man, if they'd somehow managed a way to figure out how to bring in other Wolverines, and so then you just saw this stubby little Hugh Jackman running around and disemboweling people with his claws, and they're like, "Oh, look at the cute little tiny Wolverine! This is worse than the full size!" That would have been maybe kind of funny. But granted but you had X-20, you had Laura for that. You had her for that to be the kind of tiny Wolverine, and yeah, she wasn't in the movie very long, but it was cool to see her all grown up and everything. So yeah, that was cool. And then of course the other characters that they got in there, Elektra. I don't know if anyone was like really freaking out over the fact that the Elektra was in there, or at least the Jennifer Garner version. Now, if it was the Daredevil Netflix show version, I think people would have been going, "Oh, it's Elektra, cool!" But it's like, oh yeah, it's Jennifer Garner, whatever. But the fact that they then got Blade and then Chris Evans as the Human Torch, I think those are way bigger, kind of cooler deals for them to get. It's like, oh, awesome! This is really cool. It's like when you heard Chris Evans's voice, and he's clearly doing his Captain America performance there at the very start. It's like, if we fight each other, then they win or something or whatever. It's like, oh, it's Captain America, and then he ends up. It's like in your first little sign is that something's up is when he starts cursing out the mutant Max brigade or whatever, and it's like, oh, that's a little strange for Captain America. I guess that's why he's a variant. And then he goes, flame on! It's like, oh, he's the Human Torch. That's amazing. That was just really cool. And it's funny because like you can go back like a year and a half, 2 years or something like that, and someone asked Chris Evans at a press junket for some movie he was doing. It's like, well, would you ever consider returning as the Human Torch? It says, you know what? That would actually be the thing that would probably get me back. I would do the Human Torch before I did Captain America, because there's not really much more room to explore with Captain America, but the Human Torch, there's maybe some room to do something with that. So the fact that he came back for the Human Torch, that was pretty funny. I really, really liked that. And then also just all the tie-ins to Loki with the TVA and the Sacred Timeline and all this stuff and the temp pads and Alioth. It's like, what, Alioth's in this? You mean from Loki season 1 episode 5? It's like, because I think Loki's probably maybe sneakily the best thing that Marvel has done since Endgame. It's like Guardians 3 is up there. It's top 3 for sure. And I like I said earlier, I think it beats out Deadpool Wolverine. But Loki was so good. I was one of those people that, because people liked the first season, but when the second season came out, I feel like a lot of people stopped caring. It's like, it's another season of this. We know what this is. And I actually watched the second season, and it was just like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And it seemed like people that watched the second season were like, guys, this is amazing. And it's like, you need to watch this. Like, no, seriously, genuinely, this is amazing. And everyone else just kind of collectively went, whatever. Season 2 of Loki, we don't care. Marvel fatigue had really set in by the time Loki season 2 came out, though. So I guess I kind of understand it. But that's why it's like, even with all this stuff going on, I have not watched everything Marvel related since Endgame. I've skipped things here or there. I've skipped Eternals. I have not seen Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. I need to finish season 2 of What If, because I actually like What If a lot. Um, and then I watched one episode of Secret Invasion and then dipped out. I was like, nope, never mind. I don't think I'm because I think it was like 3 or 4 weeks in, and so I was hearing some kind of mixed things about it, and then I watched the first episode. I'm like, let's see how this turns out. And then the finale happened. And everyone was like, this is awful. I'm like, okay, I'll probably watch it like eventually before the next Avengers movie comes out, because that'll probably be really important. But I know Secret Invasion seems just like a really big mixed bag. So that's something I'll probably watch eventually. But yeah, so I understand the Marvel fatigue, but Loki was like really good. So for them to use all of that in Deadpool, it's like this is what I'm talking about, where I think Deadpool really works well when he is interacting with the larger universe at hand. So I think that they really did a good job like making this movie feel like both a Marvel movie, like an MCU. It's in the MCU. Here's all your references and stuff, and different connections, but also making it feel like a Deadpool movie, and also making it feel like this really nice tribute to all of the other Marvel stuff that came prior to the MCU that's kind of been not even forgotten, but discarded. Like the fact that all of these characters ended up in the void, that their timelines got pruned and they ended up in the void, is again really smart for a Deadpool movie to do, because it is kind of a meta thing of, oh yeah, no one cares about these projects anymore because now we have quote unquote real Marvel. That's even a joke that they made in Once Upon a Deadpool, where Fred Savage says, and it's like, well, we're Marvel. It's like, are you though? You're Marvel's, subsidized by 20th Century Fox. It's like, you're not real Marvel. So the fact that they did kind of give these nice callbacks and stuff to these, I mean, there's a lot. I mean, between the two we can't forget about Fan Four Stick. So 3 Fantastic Four movies, all the X-Men movies, which there's like 10 or 11 of them or something like that, maybe more than that. I've lost count, because that would include the 3 Deadpool movies now. So I mean, yeah, there's a lot of X-Men movies. I think Fox did Ghost Rider. I think Fox did the 2 Ghost Rider Nick Cage movies. So it's like, so those are in there. So I mean, Fox did a lot of Marvel stuff and helped really put a lot of it on the map back in the day. And we wouldn't, it's Daredevil 2004, of course, that's another one. So because I think Kevin Feige was a low-level producer on some of these earlier projects, and that's how he ended up meeting people like Jon Favreau, who would later go on to direct Iron Man, and like some of the other people that now work at Marvel Studios proper and everything. So it was really nice to see these characters come back, even if it was just for a moment, and even characters that technically didn't exist, with Channing Tatum as Gambit. That was hilarious. It's like, I'm sorry, who's your dialect coach? Is it the Minions? It's like, yeah, there were a couple lines that were hard to understand with him, but there was also a lot of laughter. So it's definitely a movie I think I want to go back to see, because it was just a joy from start to finish. I just really liked it. And yeah, that last little bit and during the credits, where they're showing all this behind the scenes stuff from all the Fox Marvel movies, and it's like you can see Patrick Stewart in Professor X's chair, like testing it out for the first time, and Ian McKellen trying on the Magneto helmet, and Hugh Jackman's talking about his like first week on set of X-Men, being really nervous because he knows this is a really iconic character that he's stepping into the shoes of, and all this other stuff, and showing some of the behind the scenes of First Class and Fantastic Four and everything. It's like, yeah, I mean, it's like, they're not perfect movies by any stretch. It's like, they don't always do a very good job adapting the source material. X-Men Origins Wolverine, looking at you, but they are important in the legacy of Marvel, because they were this stepping stone. They kind of, there's the saying of, the X walked so Y could run. The Fox Marvel stuff kind of started to walk and then tripped over their own feet and face planted, so the MCU could walk and then run and then sprint. and then inevitably faceplant, and now it's kind of in the middle of picking itself back up. But I mean, what a stretch there. It's like from like, I think like 28, because like obviously the MCU really struck it big with the Avengers. The Avengers was huge, but starting with that release cadence of Thor and Cap 1 in 2011 to about 2019 when they wrapped all that up with Endgame, and then ended up taking that little break because of COVID. That's what a run. I mean, basically every one of those movies was a huge smash hit. Even the characters that people were like the Guardians of the Galaxy, people were going, it's like, Guardians of the Galaxy, what? That's so stupid. And then it becomes this massive, mega successful franchise. And then people were like, Ant-Man, who cares about Ant-Man? What a lame idea. It's like, oh no, that movie was actually really fun. People like the second and third one less so than the first. I actually like all three. I'd certainly like the first two a lot. The third one I feel like loses a lot of charm from the first two, but the third movie I feel like is less so an Ant-Man and the Wasp sequel, and it's more of an introduction to Kang the Conqueror featuring Ant-Man and the Wasp as our audience surrogates learning who Kang the Conqueror is, only for Marvel to now be dropping that idea altogether and switching to Doctor Doom. Okay, that's something that is always going to annoy me. I hope that they just don't say forget about Kang the Conqueror and we're never even going to mention his name ever again, because then there's going to be all these awkward in-credit sequences and stuff, and it's like, well, Loki dealt a lot with He Who Remains and Kang the Conqueror and all his variants and stuff, so that's going to be awkward that you spent 2 seasons of a TV show building this character up, only to then kind of drop him completely. A little awkward. So I hope that in Doomsday they do have something, or in another, or maybe Fantastic Four, something that does kind of tie up that loose thread, that's satisfying. Because you know that when they do have that all figured out in Deadpool, because that's the thing, Deadpool and Logan are definitely showing up in Secret Wars at the very least, if not also in Doomsday. It's like, because of what the Secret Wars storyline is, of all these different universes collapsing in on one another and everything, and all these different characters being forced to work together to like save reality itself and everything. You know, Deadpool and Wolverine are going to be there, so you know that's going to be one of those. That's probably going to be one of those things that they're going to allow Ryan Reynolds to joke about, where it's like, okay, let's go stop Doctor Doom. It's like, do you think we could kind of find a Kang variant to help us out? And everyone's going to be like, who? It's like, oh yeah, that's right, he got canceled. It's like, it's going to be something along the lines of that. I actually had a joke about being canceled in this movie. So it's, yeah, I'm really eager to see more. It's like, and that's the thing, is like, I'm sure Ryan Reynolds said in an interview, I think with Jimmy Fallon, but it's Ryan Reynolds. It's like kind of hard to take him seriously sometimes. Where it's like, where I think it was Jimmy Fallon, Jimmy Kimmel, I can't remember which one, but they asked him about Deadpool 4, and he says, no, I'm not doing a Deadpool 4. It's like my family took enough of a toll with me making this one that it would be difficult for me to do. And I'm very much paraphrasing. He said my family would divorce me, is what he said. But you kind of understand what he means. And I've seen other interviews from him where, he had to be gone for weeks at a time and stuff. And like one of his kids asked him when he was going to be done Deadpooling so they could, be a family again. It's like, yeah, that's hard. And he's got like these 3 little kids and stuff. So I think we probably will, especially with how much money this movie's making. I mean, it is making bonkers money already, and it's been like 3 or 4 days. So I think there will eventually be a Deadpool 4. Or maybe they're just going to straight up call it Deadpool 3, and Deadpool and Wolverine is going to be like this, kind of, and that's going to be part of the joke about them. It's like, well, Wolvie's not in this one. We're kind of getting back to just the Deadpool characters that kind of took a back seat, which is one of my nitpicks. It's like, we couldn't have more Colossus and Negasonic Teenage Warhead and Yukio. It's and Dopinder, and it's like, because I like all those characters a lot. They brought a lot of fun to that. It's like with Colossus being kind of the straight man, and then the antagonistic back and forth bickering between Deadpool and Negasonic, and then Dopinder just being silly, and all that stuff. So I definitely would like another solo Deadpool movie to focus on those characters a little bit more. Blind Owl got a decent amount of screen time, about the same as in the other, so I wasn't disappointed with the amount of Blind Owl we got. But yeah, all the others I felt like very relegated to the background, and I wish that they had been involved a little bit more. Because even when the trailers came out, and you've got the Like a Prayer slow-mo walk in front of the damaged store, and it's sleeveless Wolverine and Deadpool with nice pools, golden deagles. I was for sure, knowing the way Marvel operates, I was for sure that scene, there was going to be other characters walking out with them, and they were just edited out for the trailer because they didn't want to spoil the surprise. So it's like that would, and especially since they're actually back in the regular dimension, that would have been a good place to throw in Colossus and Negasonic and Yukio, because that's the thing. It's like Deadpool gets kidnapped and taken to the TVA during his birthday party. They could have come back immediately during, and because it's the Void, and it's like, yeah, they didn't have a temp pad, but it's the Void, because they time works weird or whatever, because it's the Void, it's outside of time and space. So Cassandra Nova could have opened up a portal and deposited him and Wolverine right back into like he hadn't even left the party. And then like there's fighting on the street, and they look out the window, because Blind Out does have that good gag. I was like, I wish I was deaf too. Then they look out on the street and they see Deadpool and Wolverine down there. They're like, what's going on? So then you have this whole confrontation, and then you have Colossus and Negasonic and Yukio helping Wade and Logan fight off all the other Deadpools or whatever, like TVA agents or something. That it's like maybe a missed opportunity there, but it's like, so I do want another solo Deadpool movie, but I think it's probably going to take a while. But it's like, yeah, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, I think the wait for this one, it was 6 years between 2 and 3 or whatever. I think the wait was worth it for this. So the wait for another Deadpool movie will probably be worth it as well. And as I was saying, a moment ago, it's like we're definitely going to get Deadpool in more movies going forward, even if he's like, because I saw someone, and I think it's probably been a kind of a common sentiment, so I don't feel bad about not crediting who I saw say this, but I've seen this idea floating around online that Deadpool needs to be the new Stan Lee cameo, where he's just like, and it doesn't even have to be Ryan Reynolds in the suit. I mean, if you give him a speaking line, then yeah, maybe, but it's like you could literally just have him sitting on a park bench in the background. He just kind of gives a little wave to the camera at the start of a scene, then he walks away, as in our actual characters walk on screen and they don't acknowledge Deadpool whatsoever. Just something little like that. But I'm sure that we are going to get Deadpool and Wolverine and those characters in going forward in other movies, and that won't be as much of a time commitment as soloing and headlining. Well, not soloing because Hugh Jackman was there, but headlining your own actual movie, and instead of just being in like a third of it or whatever. I think that'd be a lot different. So I'm excited, because because like I said, this movie's making so much money. They can't not try to include Deadpool in as many projects as possible now. And especially, it's like, gosh, I thought his suit from the first 2 movies was good. This new one is just incredible. It's like, it's that really nice light red as opposed to the more darker red, the more maroon color. I like that he actually really does have the slanted eye Deadpool logo on his belt buckle and everything. The suit is just spectacular, and it just looks so cool. And I also really like that in the movie, it's like he's in the suit for the majority of it. It's not like some of the Spider-Man movies or even Iron Man, where a lot of times they're finding excuses to get them out of the costume and show their face. There's a little bit of that here, but even then, Ryan Reynolds still has to, a lot of times, still be in the Deadpool makeup, and I'm sure it's a big prosthetic thing they put over his face to make him look like he's a giant living tumor. So even then, it still kind of feels right, and so it's still really feels but it's like Deadpool has his mask on for just so long in this movie, and it's like in the costume. It's like you get your first like little 10-15 minutes where he's in civilian clothes, and then like for the whole rest of the movie, he's in the costume, and he wears the mask for like 80-90% of that. And then there's just a couple scenes where he like when they're at the diner and they're eating, or they're meeting Dogpool and Nice Pool and stuff. And then of course Ryan Reynolds' actual face is out in the open when he's Nice Pool. But I'm just really happy that they didn't find any of those excuses to not put the superhero in their costume, which I think they probably realized that they had to do that because they make so many jokes about the fact that Logan finally gets to wear the yellow blue costume with the hood and everything. Oh, it just looks so good. It's like that shot where they're bursting out the back of the bus and Deadpool has his blades drawn and Wolverine has his claws out and he's screaming and he's in that crouch pose. I mean, that is a comic book cover right there. I don't think it's actually a comic book cover that exists, but you could see that being the framing for like, you know, a Deadpool Wolverine miniseries. And that being like, you know, issue number 4 or whatever, that being the cover of them bursting out of the back of the bus. And it's, I mean, that is just such an iconic framing of those two characters. And I was just like, oh, this is so awesome. This is so great. So yeah, I really like the costumes in this. The costumes were great. But kind of on everyone. So I mean, yeah, this is just one of those things. I could just gush about this movie forever. I really, really enjoyed it. I have my little nitpicks, which I've gone over, but overall, there's just so much obvious care for both of these characters here, for both Deadpool and Wolverine, that and yeah, it was a really entertaining time. I really liked it a lot, so I'm excited to see them appear in more stuff. And this is a good win for Marvel. Especially after all the announcements at SDCC, which people have some opinions on. I'm in a wait and see mode with Robert Downey Jr. as Doom. Well, I'm like, okay, I could see this working, but I'm going to have to see the execution before I really make up my mind about this. So yeah, but that'll pretty much be it for my review for Deadpool and Wolverine. I hope you guys enjoyed. Please remember to like, comment, subscribe, all that great stuff. Remember to follow me on Twitter and Instagram. Those links are in the description below. And I'll see you guys next time. Which you know, it's a movie review, so I don't do these very often. So I don't know what the next movie review is going to be. Oh, it's probably going to be Transformers 1. That's probably going to be it. But so I'll whenever I do another movie review, I'll see you guys then. So thank you for watching and goodbye.